time. We're live. Oh my God. Like literally at the last, you have to wait till this minute. You have to do it. You have to. It caused me angst when it was in person. It causes me angst here. Hello.
Yeah, but maybe I was just hiding in the shadows and you didn't know.
You were stressing me out and you know, because I was texting you.
You were? I didn't know.
Yes.
I was looking at my phone.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thursday Night Generational Change. I'm Jen.
I'm Peter, and
we're early.
Mike. We are early. Tonight we're early.
Yeah.
Because I've got,
he has a thing, which is why we're early, which is why I was like, that's kind of annoying that he's not here and we're going early because he has a thing. But this time you are on the correct side. It's which one that's here first is on the left.
So you're telling me that I actually pointed in the wrong direction this time?
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
So you really are over there.
No. Now I'm the other way. There. Correct.
But that's what I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes,
okay.
I did. Oh, so now you're just trying to call me out because
so we're early because Peter has a thing.
Yeah, I got a thing. I can't tell you where. I can't tell you when.
It's a thing later.
But it's pretty important. Well, listen, it's really important that we come on early because I just wanted to let you know we are going to turn Gaza into a big, beautiful strip of land that's going to have Trump towers, Trump apartments, Trump restaurants, Trump everything.
Trump-orama. It's going to be like, it'll be like Trump World, like Disney World, but Trump World.
I've already seen the sign for Trump Gaza. Like they've already been doing like renditions of that shit, which is even more amazing because the thing about MAGA, and we know plenty of MAGA people, and a lot of them are good people, but there is also the cult portion of MAGA that cannot be denied. And there are people who would be saying if Biden and Harris were doing the shit that Trump is trying to do right now, they wouldn't be going along with it. But because Trump is doing it, then that makes it okay.
Nothing makes any of it okay. We're so far from okay. We passed okay, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe more. We passed okay a long time ago. But what he said, it goes between like, yeah, on the one hand, it's infuriating, but on the other hand, it's absurd. Also, he's not going to be able to do that. I'd also, if we want to talk about that now, I'd like to call attention to the number that he used. I thought I heard him say 1.3 million people.
I believe he said 1.3 million, which means that as many as 900,000 Palestinians could be mass murdered.
That's the thing. And he, from my understanding, he was reading from a script. So he wasn't winging it. That number was written down. So that's how many people they estimate would have to be relocated. So that means they're acknowledging almost 1 million people dead.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So I just the whole thing. But the idea that he said, well, we'll just get Jordan and Egypt to take them as if he's such this like amazing businessman negotiator. Like no one's ever thought of that before. It was such a good idea. No, stupid head. I feel like Tim Black.
No, the one thing with Trump.
No, that can't happen because those states have repeatedly rejected that idea, as have the Palestinians. It's not going to happen.
I think it's going to come to a head very quickly because Trump does not want blood on his hands. I hearken it back to the Satire, who was really he was mobbed up. He was connected to the mob. Al-Lettieri, excuse me. He played Sollozzo in the original Godfather, and he's the guy who wanted to move in on. They wanted to move in on Don Corleone's territory. And so he wanted to deal the narcotics within New York and other places. And, Don Corleone didn't want any part of that. But of course, from Sollozzo's perspective, it's like, but this is business. This is good for business. And he specifically says to Robert Duvall's character, he said, I don't want to do this, Tom. I'm a businessman. Blood is a big expense.
Well, that's the I agree. And I don't think he's never like, I don't think that, but he is very beholden to people that do. So that's sort of the problem. But at the end of the day,
Trump has backed himself into a corner that he's not going to be a violent president. That's not his intent. And he knows that his legacy could very well hinge on whether or not he does this the right way. Now, he may really believe in his mind that he can negotiate between the Palestinians and the Israelis. Like he might really believe in his mind that that's possible.
Oh, I think that he believes he's going to get Jordan and Egypt to take them in and just then they'll give them nice places to live. They'll build their settlements and all will be great. which is, again, it's between infuriating and absurd, because
Well,
it's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. And at the end of the day, even if you forcibly remove it, it will be, let me tell you something. You wait till our Marines are coming home in body bags. Wait until that starts happening, because you will not defeat Hamas unless you literally just nuke the whole place. Like, that's it. You're not going to be able to win in any sort of like on the ground situation there. That's not going to happen. And it's going to get ugly.
Here's what the negotiator in chief had to say.
We'll take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs.
How are you going to do that?
See, this is how he just thinks, we'll own it. No question as to how you can own it when it's not yours, it's not for sale. Like, you can't just say you own something, right? Like, right off the bat, that's just totally dumb. And by the way, when he was talking, Netanyahu, his body language was completely off. Like, he's like, we never agreed to give you Gaza.
Which may be true. And the other thing that I think is being completely lost here, and this is the naivete on Trump's part and any other real estate developer's part, because it's true. You know, even people that are MAGA have to explain to other MAGA, it's like, if you're America first, it's not our job to make other people agree to our way of life. You know, you can't, there's a lot of people in MAGA who understand the flaws in capitalism, and they're recognizing that in real time. If you even attempt to develop, you might be able to extract the natural gas out of Gaza, but even that's debatable. If you even attempt to westernize that strip, do you know what type of terror attacks that area is going to be subject to going forward?
It's never going to get this far. Like, that's the problem. I don't know if you saw, but I read like a series of responses from leaders and foreign diplomats around the world. And
President Xi of China,
they're not having it.
He already immediately came out and said, we're with Palestine.
Yeah, they're not having it. This is going to end very badly for us. And he doesn't want to look bad.
No.
And at the end of the day.
And you see those two flags right behind him? Let me tell you something, Donnie. You keep this shit up, and those are the only two flags.
Okay, now normally I 1,000% agree whenever I see another flag. However, this is because Netanyahu is in the room, and whoever else was in the room, whatever other foreign nation, it would be that flag because they're speaking at a joint conference. Okay. So even though I am opposed to us affiliating with them, if he were having a joint conference with, pick your country, France, then and Macron was there, he'd have that. That would be both their flags. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe so, but it's the look. It's
horrible. And Travers wants to know why there's a swastika. Good question. Because we're Nazis? I don't know.
Maybe. Let's finish it out.
Bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job. Do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years.
I'm so livid with the whole.
This is also an example of where his class privilege is really showing. A person who just completely does not understand a person's mindset, who has nothing and is content to have nothing because it is a blood oath to protect the land of Palestine.
He doesn't understand caring about anything greater than himself. So that first and foremost puts him out of the understanding of Palestinians. But him and his ilk, they are so fucking ignorant about Palestinian people, and the idea that you're going to create policy in an area and not even know who the people are. The Palestinian people are inextricably connected to their land. The fact that he thinks you could just bomb it and raise it like it's just a heap of rubble you're that's the history of that land, which is why we know that Israel is not the true steward of that land, because if they were, they would love that land and they wouldn't be destroying it. So this is the problem. And what he wants to do in Gaza, it's no longer than what it is. He wants to turn it into like freaking Monte Carlo.
He has that illusion in his mind that can be possible, but
yeah, but it isn't. But it isn't.
It can't be done.
No,
and it won't be done. And that is the thing. And they're all going to be like, "Oh, well, listen, they'll let you build, and the second you're done building will be when they decide to take action." Like Trump doesn't understand that Israel is going to destroy itself. Mm-hmm. It's already in the process. The entire world wants them shut out. It is almost too obvious at this point that they have nowhere else to go. And when it continues, you have been saying for a year now, when they said it was like 20,000, 30,000, you said, "Oh, no. Yeah, they're going to wipe out the majority of the population," and I
still believe that will happen ultimately. Again, we're still talking about a place that has no infrastructure, no clean water, limited food, and no healthcare, no antibiotics. Women are giving birth like in dirt with no sterilization stuff. You've got people having limbs amputated. Like these things don't, like, you can't, that can't go on. Well, I've said for the longest time, this is not ending without a couple million dead people.
Well, the perfect conclusion to this segment actually is the clip that you sent me earlier, because this guy just did a great job of explaining.
Did you like that?
I thought it was really good.
Okay, so guys,
China is going to take over the Palisades and own it. They're going to occupy this land and build unlimited amounts of housing and provide jobs for people in the area. They said that Mexico and Canada are going to take in the people from the Palisades while they rebuild that land. That area is absolutely devastated, and the Palisadian people don't actually want to return to their land.
The Palisadian. I mean, talk about a great play on words there. That was well done.
The Palisadian people.
Cheers.
But the reason they're not leaving is because there's no other option. Many countries have reached out to China willing to take in the Palisadian people, so they'll be fine. But what's important is to get the people out of the Palisades as soon as possible, because it's too dangerous there. There's too many fires, too much looting, and China needs to rebuild this alone. Something has to be different in the Palisades, or else it's just going to be the same way it's been for the last 100 years. China has said this land is beautiful when it's cleaned up, of course, and it can be built with beachfront properties. I think we should be grateful to China, because the people of the Palisades now can never go home, and they don't want to go home, so thank you, China. Now, my hope for this is it will be part of a larger peace process that will end a tariff war between China and the U.S. and the animosity between these two countries.
It's just funny to me. The Palisadians.
Not just the whole play on words, but it's so true.
It is, right. It would be like China came over and said, we're gonna own this, we'll fix it up for you, and we'll displace you to the countries right next to you in the meantime. It is. That's exactly how ridiculous it sounds.
And that is the lunacy of just thinking that this is acceptable behavior, which of course it isn't. And this is also the issue with American exceptionalism that I really think people are pretending doesn't exist. Like, we do think that we have the right to kick ass and take names, and we've been able to get away with it for a long time. But now that we have competition, and we accelerated.
Yeah, guys in the chat, that's exactly what it was. It kind of all happened fast because Peter kind of put it up there and didn't give me a little chance to intro it. But that was a video that came up. I saw it on my Instagram and I forwarded to him. That was so funny, where basically a guy is saying that now that the Palisades have been completely annihilated, probably should have played that for Ron now that he's here. But now that the Palisades are eviscerated, China is going to come in. They're going to own the Palisades. They're going to relocate the Palisadians to Canada and Mexico. We're going to get Canada and Mexico to take the Palisadians while we rebuild their property. And they don't want to come back anyway. So thank you to China. That was the gist. And yes, it's ridiculous.
No, we're totally doing business with China. It'll be really great. We're going to do great work. You'll see. Yeah, we'll see, Donnie. Like you said, and I've been saying, his presidency is good. Like, his first 100 days truly will define his legacy. Like, this
what he's saying he wants to do, and what he's able to do. And I don't mean just legally able to do, because I gave up on that protecting us a long time ago, but what he's physically able to do, right? are two
There is no art of the deal here.
No. And the thing is, like, in order for him to do what he's even suggesting he does, would absolutely 1,000% require boots on the ground of our people. And from the people I was listening to today, I was doing a lot looking into this, like Scott Ritter and Larry Wilkerson. You're talking, we would have to have about 300,000 people at the ready right now to be handling this situation in Gaza. And that just does not exist. And no one in our military at any higher level would agree to putting people in that condition for a place that does not in any way affect American security.
It's true.
So he just sounds absurd when he talks like that.
Well, it is going to be entertaining if it isn't sad and disturbed at the same time. So without further ado, we have our regulars, we have our people that we really like. And of course, anytime we have crossover from status quo and many progressive history, it's always great. And Ron, of course, has the distinction of when Jen and I were reunited back it was the end of 2018. It was like the end of 2018, beginning of 2019. It was like sometime like right around then. So without further ado, you know him, you love him. Ron Placone, welcome back to Generational Change.
What's up? How you guys doing?
Hey, Ron, it's good to see you. How are you?
Good to see you. Yeah, I'm good.
I find out that you have a movie coming out, which is really cool. But
I have a movie. It is out. It's
okay.
out. Yeah.
Well, I didn't even know that when I had first said to Peter before that. I said, when we were talking about what's going on with the TikTok thing, and I'm like, we should talk to Ron about what's going on with the TikTok thing. That just seems like his kind of thing to talk about. And it turns out that this was when you were having your movie coming in. So I don't know. It was kind of like, I think I was psychically thinking that you should come on the show.
Well, good timing. Yeah. And happy to talk about the TikTok thing if you want.
No, I mean, I don't, it doesn't, that was it. I mean, that was like when that came up a few weeks ago. We could talk about whatever Peter has his heart set on. It doesn't.
Well, I think it would be appropriate if you gave everybody a wonderful intro. We do have the clip of the film Left at the Wall. And of course, if please share with the audience what it's about, and then we are going to play the clip.
Yeah, so Left at Wall is my movie, and it came out a couple weeks ago. It came out at the end of January, basically, which ended up not being the greatest timing in the world, considering what the world had in store for us. It came out literally amidst flames where I live in Southern California, but the movie came out nonetheless. It is about thank you, Teresa. It's loosely inspired by the GameStop incident that happened, but it's a totally fictional story. So it calls out the Wall Street machine under the backdrop of that happening, and via the feud of two brothers. So it's a funny comedy about family, but also, kind of calls out the Wall Street machine from an anti-capitalist perspective. So it has all the fun ingredients. I like to my comps, I say, imagine if The Big Short and High Fidelity had a baby, and then that baby joins the union. And that's basically what the movie's about. We got a killer cast. I'm in it. Gareth Reynolds from The Dollop plays my brother. Dave Anthony's in the movie as well. Eddie Pepitone is in the movie. Graham Elwood, Kimberly Hill, Sarah K. Godot. Sage Francis makes a cameo. So we have a very, very fun cast. And then a couple podcasts make an appearance as their podcasts, like Punch Up Pod with Lila and Pat Cody. They do a cameo in it. As does Podcast by George. It's a really fun film, and I hope everyone loves it.
Oh,
yeah,
let's
play the clip. Yeah.
So you must want to talk about something if you came all the way here. What's up?
I'm gonna propose.
No way. Certainly don't think of it as something where you kind of have to outdo what Tiffany and I did. We had such a big wedding because it means nothing to us. Her family has money, I have a ton of money.
Don, can we not talk about money right now?
Well, why else are you telling me this?
Because you're my brother. So, I'm a writer. My brother Don is on Wall Street. They basically created a casino out of our economy.
No, we're short selling the stock, which is financial jargon for, you probably wouldn't understand.
You know, I bet I would.
It's just you guys are so hard on each other.
What the hell do you mean you don't know how to make an old-fashioned? How about this? Let me behind the bar. I'll make the old-fashioned myself.
Give me a break, pal. Does this place look like we make old fashions?
I just can't do this anymore. I think we need a break.
What? So there I was. No girlfriend, no work, no agent. Was this rock bottom?
And that's when I got an idea.
Dude, Game Bites. We all need to buy shares of it.
I lost a lot because of these idiot hackers.
Well, they're not hackers, but... This isn't about you, Don. This is bigger. This is about sticking up to this corrupt system and actually fighting back for once.
Oh, shut up, John.
That's totally fun. You know what? It has like a very
90s.
seriously.
Is that your ride?
It has a very Charlie Kaufman vibe to me.
Okay. All
you know
right.
what I'm saying? Like it almost seems like it's a story in a story.
Yeah, a little bit. All right. No, that's the first comparison I ever got to that. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
but
though.
I
appreciate it.
mean that as a compliment. Like I think of things like adaptation and his stuff, and it feels
Okay.
like it's almost like The Office in that sort of way where it feels like it's real, but then it's not. I don't know. It's just I thought it was really cool.
I would watch it just for Pepitone. I mean, knowing you probably just let him, kind of like Bill Murray, his entire performance. Like, yeah, say whatever you want. Just,
He is very, very funny in it. Yeah. Eddie's hilarious in it. Yeah, check it out. I mean, it's out now. Folks can get it. You actually don't even have to leave YouTube to watch it. It's on YouTube Movies. So you can rent it or, you can rent it or buy it on YouTube. You can also buy the DVD. You can get it on Apple TV. You can get it on Google Play. You can get it on Amazon. So basically, whatever you use, you should be able to get it. There are some territory issues. I know it's not available in certain territories due to rights and stuff like that. But if you're in North America, you should be totally good. And if you're having any issues, feel free to email me if you're having trouble getting it. But yeah, it's out now.
That's awesome. And so it's obviously loosely based on that whole, I mean, I remember the GameStop thing, but a lot of it, and this is one of those things where I don't really understand what the whole thing is that they were doing, and I don't necessarily care to, but this is loosely based on that, right? Like that whole thing where like the Robin Hood situation where it's figured out the system.
Yes, I mean the theme of it is basically the same, where a bunch of just regular people who weren't really Wall Street insiders got a lowdown on a short sell that was trying to take place, and they bought the stock, so they kind of messed up that short sell. I mean that's basically what happened with the GameStop thing. The way we get from A to B is completely fictional. It's a totally made up story. But it does, explain how something like that can happen. And we use a similar backdrop, but instead of being called Game Bites, or excuse me, the store is called Game Bites instead of GameStop. Right. The social media platform is Red Room instead of Reddit. So yeah, we kind of created a little bit of a fictional world, but
that's awesome.
I think there's a lot of relevancy to that story as it is today. You think about at the time, it was a really big deal. And we saw how, Wall Street it's not real. It's fraud, as Bernie said a number of years ago. And you think about the fact that the people figured out how the game was fixed and they decided to get in on the action and wouldn't allow it. It's amazing how much worse it's gotten since GameStop happened. When you think about how blatant our congressional representatives, whether it's Wasserman Schultz or anybody else that just deliberately in full view of the public trades on inside information and thinks that they can just get away with it. Like there is no consequence. It's like rules for thee, not for ye. And I do think that your film will resonate because I think this is an issue that really is bothering people. I mean, we are kind of watching the collapse of empire as we speak.
Well, yeah, and honestly, all the problems that we have, I mean, so much of it can be traced back to the Wall Street machine. I mean, it's like, why do we have endless war? Well, because Wall Street is invested in defense and all that stuff. Why don't we have universal health care? Well, because they have tons of tentacles in the insurance industries and stuff like that. So it's all connected to Wall Street. And it has gotten worse since that GameStop incident happened. So yeah, with this film, you know, we were kind of able to explain how absurd the society we built is, you know, via the narrator, and also, you know, make a fun comedy film about it. And also showing how it kind of affects regular people, and how it has an impact on families and just people going about their lives. And, you know, nobody in the film is 100% good or 100% bad. So there's you know, there's kind of a lot of life lessons going on. It's sort of like, what's the movie about and what's the movie really about? It's like, well, what's the movie about? Well, it's a, you know, it's a story about a short sell attempt that's loosely based on the GameStop thing, and it's a social commentary. What's the movie really about? Well, it's really about family, you know. So yeah.
Right. A lot of themes. But at the end of the day, the problem is capital. I mean, that's the problem at the end of the day in every single aspect of everything. So I appreciate the sentiment. And I love the idea of people knowing how to work a system that's stuck there to screw us and being able to turn it back around. Like, I think it's punching up, right? Like, and I appreciate that. It's very, like, you know, it's very Luigi.
Yeah.
Luigi.
Yeah. So yeah, folks can check it out. It's on Apple TV. Again, Apple TV, Amazon, YouTube Movie. So you don't even need to leave YouTube. You can, right after this show, you can go rent it right now. Start your weekend with Left at Wall. Yeah, if you just type in Left at Wall on your smart TV, it should come right up. And yeah, I really hope everybody enjoys it. And if you like it, please leave us a review if you enjoy it and would like to leave a review. Those really, really help when a movie's new and when it's independent. We don't have any of the big studios helping us. We were all on our own.
That's amazing. I don't even know how you can do that. Like, now, like,
it took a lot. I mean, it took a lot of. I mean, I guess when all's said and done, it took me about 4 years because I got the idea shortly after it happened. So, I mean, it took a while to get to this point. I mean, it's been out, like, we did screenings and festivals before it was released completely. So we did do screenings and festivals throughout 2024. So some people had seen it before it even hit distribution, but it is officially out as of January 24th. And yeah, I'm just real excited for the world to see it.
That's really cool. So this is your first movie.
It's my first movie, well, that I've made. I mean,
yeah,
I've
that
had,
you've
I've
made.
had
I
big
know
parts.
you've.
Yeah,
no, but that you've done. That's your project.
it's my first one. It
That's
won't be my
awesome.
last, but yeah, this is my first one. It was a crazy experience. Right after it was over, I kind of said I'm never going to do something like this again. But about a week later, I was already starting on the second thing, and then I was just like, well, you know, because you don't realize what's all involved until you actually go through it, and then you just go, wow, holy shit. But once you go through it, now you're like, okay, next time I know to do this, and this instead of that, and that. And so it'll be that much more easy, I guess. Not easy. Easy is the wrong word, but it's like I made 2 million mistakes. Next time I'll only make 1 billion, and that'll make a huge difference. You know
Right.
what I mean?
And you'll make different ones. Like,
yeah.
It's like when you get a new house or you build a house and you think, I'm going to do this house so much better than my last house. I'm not going to put things in the wrong places. Like, it's going to be so good. And you do a whole bunch of other things that you do wrong.
Exactly. And by the way, when I say mistakes, it's nothing that you'll notice in the movie. It's just something that, you know, throughout the process. Yeah. So there
that
you go.
You would do different, that you think like would be better or different next time.
Yeah, and shout out to Sisyphean Task, who rented it on YouTube. I hope you love it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I hope I hope everyone gets to watch it, and I hope you all love it. And yeah, I'm very excited for the world to see it.
What was the best part about making the film, or certainly the most rewarding part, and what would you say was the most difficult part about being involved with a film production?
Man, the most difficult part, honestly, the most difficult part is just how many pieces are involved. And, you know, like just running a set day to day, and I had an amazing team. I'm so great. Like, our team was just so freaking cool. Like every single person was awesome. But yeah, and then all the bureaucracy around, like, just getting something to distribution. I mean, I get why big productions have teams dedicated to all that stuff. They basically just have teams dedicated to the paperwork. But I can't afford any of those things. So it was just me, you know, it was just me. So that can be very, very overwhelming if you've never done it before. Once you've done it, you know what to expect a little better. But that was by far the most difficult part. Just all the bureaucracy, getting it to the finish line. The amount. I mean, I did so much. I will say this: getting a movie to distribution, and I speak as someone who has done both these things. Imagine buying a house. Imagine a process that I would say is about 6 times more complicated than that.
Yeah.
And that's what it's like getting a movie to distribution. It's terrible. It's
Right.
absolutely terrible. So I loathe that part of it. But the rewarding part, shooting it was a freaking blast. Getting to work with everybody, seeing it come to life, seeing the finished products, seeing it on the big screen. I mean, that's like something I'll be able to hold on to forever. And I saw it on the big screen, in my hometown in a sold out theater in Pittsburgh. I saw it on the big screen in Los Angeles, where people who, I used to look up to as a kid are my peers now, and they were in the movie, they were in the club watching it. I got to see it in London, so it's, so that's been a really, really special thing. So I would say the most rewarding thing is just seeing that finished product. I mean, people ask me what my favorite part is, and I'm like, as somebody who made the movie, I love so many of the scenes in there, and I have special memories attached to every single scene in that movie. So I can't really pick a favorite. So I'm going to have to say that my favorite part is the credits, because every time you hear those credits, you realize that you made it through another take, that you made it through another pass, and that you kind of just made it to some kind of finish line, whether it was an edit or the final thing, So yeah.
That is awesome. And I also think it's, you brought it up, Jen. I think it's a pretty good transition into why these stories become so relevant. If there is something regarding Luigi's story that I think is worth talking about, it's always good to bring that up and cover it, because it is the story of our time right now. I don't know what it's going to take for us to get single-payer healthcare, but I know that if and when we do get it, Luigi's actions will, allegedly, not for sure, but assuming that it was him, his actions have definitely sparked a conversation.
I didn't see anything. Ron, did you see anything?
He was, there was a guy named Luigi who did a set in Burbank on December 4th, and he was hilarious, that guy.
Yeah.
Luigi Mangione. Yeah. It's December 4th in Los Angeles, long way from New York City. That guy did a set. It was hysterical.
Well, unless he had that magic ticket from Last Action Hero when he could jump through the screen.
They're never going to find 12 people to convict that guy.
I'm just saying what I remember. The reason I remember it was because I'm like, man, it's not often in Los Angeles there's a comedian with a last name or with a name more Italian than mine. I mean, occasionally it happens, but I was like, Luigi Mangione, who's this guy? And he killed that guy. He was funny. He killed. But yeah.
Well, apparently he was having a problem with his legal defense fund. They decided to post an article of it in Newsweek, and within 24 hours, his donation surged all over. So, way to go, Newsweek! Nice. I know you were trying to bury the lead, but that you ended up with the highlight of the entire article.
That's so yeah. It's I mean, and you mentioned single payer, so they already shelved our single payer bill again here in California. They just did it. Yeah, like they're not going to bring it, and
you mean in blue California, you guys don't have it all together, like.
Yep, no, we don't. I mean, we've certainly been. There's been efforts here for like the past, I think, over 10 years. I mean, I'm aware of like 10 years, but I think it's been going on even longer than that. And the same thing happens every time. They play a rotating villain, somebody shelves the bill, and then they make this BS excuse. And then the problem is no one pays a political price for it. And, because no one wants to like, it's like, oh, well, this is a progressive. They're on our side, which to some extent I get. It's like, well, if you get this person out of office, they might be replaced with someone worse. But like the other side of it, I always tell people, I'm like, look, if the person who shelves the bill next realizes that is a guarantee they've lost their job. Like if it becomes common knowledge that, hey, if we shelf this single payer bill, next election, we're out. The voters are going to just get us out. they won't do it. They'll have to they'll have to call the bluff. They'll have to put it up for the vote so that we'll know who is who. And so I'm like, look, until somebody pays a political price, and some of these, some of these officials I'm referring to, they're very well liked officials. And so it's a tough sell, but I'm like, look, that's just reality. Like, this isn't personal. This is politics. If nobody pays a political price, they're just going to keep rotating the villains. They've been doing it for 10 years plus. They're just going to keep doing it until somebody loses their job, until somebody shelves that single payer bill, and next election they are out. Yeah, it's going to keep happening.
This is also part of the cult of personality problem that we have in politics. And I just laugh at people who get crazy about Trump. I'm like, look at the local level. Look at what people do there, how they fawn over their elected officials like they're a god. And that if they do anything wrong, there always has to be a rational explanation as to why they decided to do that. There has to be. And the fact is, they don't want to talk about corruption, and they do not want to talk about capitalism. That's what it comes down to. They do not want to talk about the true source of the problem, because if you were to talk about the source of the problem, then you would really have to be faced with the reality of why we don't have the things that every other developed nation has. And the fact is, people are looking at Mangione's story and recognizing just how substantial of an issue this really is, how they're going to try to bury it, but I think they're really underestimating where this can go. We covered it last week, the fact that there's, actually, I think it was on Monday we covered the fact that there was already one attempted Mangione copycat that went down to D.C. And this is just something that where people don't realize that once the cat's out of the bag, it's not going to go back. And Colin, if you could, there's another story. There was the one that, I think is a most.
Is there more on that? Are you scrolling or are you pulling it? What are you doing?
Yeah, no, not on this particular story. I mean, this is just a reference point that, Newsweek tried to put out there that he was suffering in funding. And then the next thing you know, his numbers surged tremendously as soon as they brought that up. And so why is Mangione's story so significant? And to me, and Colin, it's the story about the guy who went on the cruise, if you have that one, from Minnesota. And I mean, this is the reason why single payer healthcare has to happen, because stories like this are going to continue to come up, and people are going to continue to point out that this is a crisis that is not going to go away. This is just one of many people who suffer at the fall, if you will, of this capitalist system. And so here we have a person, so Minnesota man wins free Norwegian cruise vacation, then catches the flu on board and gets hit with a $47,000 medical bill. Only in America, as Don King would say. If you could scroll down a little, Colin. His luck went overboard. Yeah, to talk about play on words in this article. A Minnesota man won a free week-long cruise vacation. He got more than he bargained for, to the Caribbean for him and his girlfriend, only to catch the flu on board and get slapped with an eye-popping $47,000 medical bill. Mike Cameron and his girlfriend, Tamara Masterman, won a free Norwegian cruise. Well, there's your first mistake. You took Norwegian Cruise Line from the Grand Casino Hinckley, and that set sail out of Miami, of course, on January 5th, and he told the Post. But what started as a dream trip to the tropical destination quickly went awry when Cameron on Braham came down with the flu. The ailing passenger sought treatment at the medical center on board the Norwegian Encore, which, of course, is docked out of Miami or Fort Lauderdale. It doesn't matter. It's out of Florida. And recovered 3 days later. As the couple's tour of the Caribbean came to an end, Cameron was shocked to learn he was stuck with a nearly $50,000 medical bill. I was just flabbergasted by the whole. You see, this is also the problem when you talk about the breakdown of capitalism and where we are right now. They're not even subtle about it anymore. So if he got hit with a bill for like $3,000 or $4,000, yeah, it would be insane. It would be substantial. But would it be enough to get a banner headline in the New York Post? Probably not. But when greed has gotten so out of control, so insane, that you throw bills like this at people, what do you think is going to happen? And people wonder why Mangione happened, or the story of Mangione happened. Says, I was flabbergasted by the whole thing. I guess I'm just used to the medical system in the U.S. I can't believe it happened. Well,
That is the medical system in the U.S.
That's your first mistake there, pal.
Well, he obviously has, stateside insurance, and chances are when he booked this cruise, they didn't get whatever the travel insurance or the other stuff. And of course, their policies that are here are going to find reasons to not pay his claim based on that. But yeah, it's another way. It's just Norwegian Cruise Lines capitalizing on no healthcare.
And maybe this is the biggest misnomer of them all. The bill came as a shock as crew members assured him not to worry about receiving treatment.
And you are right, Teresa, and I agree 1,000%, which is why I do not cruise. They are giant petri dishes.
Petri dishes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, I try to avoid them. I went on one not too long ago, and it was a weird, basically my parents got this crazy deal for a cruise along the Mexican Riviera, and it docked out of my neighborhood. So they were all excited, and they were like, "Oh my God, we gotta go!" And I kind of didn't want to, just because it was a cruise, but I didn't want to be the Debbie Downer of the group. So I said, "Okay, we'll go." But I get dizzy on them too. I get dizzy on it. I basically it's just hey, here's some really good food and vertigo for
we call
days.
that seasick, right? We call it seasick.
Well, I never got sick, but
That is
I
seasick.
got.
You don't have to actually puke to have seasickness. It's not only puking.
All right, well,
but it sucks.
There's nothing worse. I won't go. I don't cruise for a myriad of reasons. But
no, I cruised a number of times when I was young, but I haven't done it in a very long time, and you're not really missing anything. If you want to travel, you travel, and I understand that. Cruising can be appealing for a lot of people, especially when you're on a budget and you want to be able to see places. That's understandable. But there's also a lot to be said for the environmental damage that cruising does, the amount of disease that gets spread.
Oh, it's gross.
Yeah, it's really not that safe. And so this guy gets sick and he's thinking everything will be okay. So the kicker of the finality of the story is that he didn't just get hit with the bill. They maxed out his credit cards first.
Jesus.
So they took his money.
What kind of treatment was this guy getting that it was that freaking expensive?
He recovered for 3 days in an infirmary with the flu. What could be such a big deal?
Well, this is like asking, why do members of Congress, why is Nancy Pelosi able to trade millions upon millions of dollars in stock when every time it's proven that the reason she's doing this, you've got Senator Mullen in Oklahoma. You got all these guys. They do this shit. And it's obvious that they're trading on inside information because something significant happens that affects the market. Shortly thereafter, their stocks go through. So it is a level of greed that is just, it's end of empire type of greed because it's so public. What ends up happening, it's kind of like the Super Bowl. There's a lot of people who have lost trust in professional sports. They just look at it as, well, this is all rigged. This isn't real. So why should I participate? Why should I ever get involved? Why should I ever believe that what I'm seeing is legitimate? And when you get to that point, that's a very dangerous place to be, I believe. So how much longer it's going to last, I don't know. But I would be very skeptical of that. And this is a very dangerous time. And that's why I said to Jen, it's not going to surprise me in the least if there is going to be some type of a copycat situation. That's the biggest danger.
Oh, there'll definitely be attempts. Yeah. I mean, I think it's safe to say, there's no doubt because every day more and more people just have nothing to lose. And I mean, there's no relief in sight. I mean, the only thing, groceries are getting more and more expensive. Cheaper groceries are not in sight. The only thing standing in the way of the Kroger-Albertson merger was Lina Khan. She's gone now. So, I mean, it's going to get really bad. Simultaneously, there's a hostile takeover of government, really. I mean, Elon Musk is pretty much running things unchecked. Trump's appointments have been a freaking disaster. They continue on and on. No one's doing anything. Air travel is in disarray. I mean, it really is. It is completely in utterly crumbling, just in every way, shape, and form.
Well, hold on a minute, Ron. You mean to tell me that this doesn't inspire you?
Stand with you in this fight, and we will win. 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 We won't rest. We won't rest. We won't rest. We won't rest.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
You won't rest until
I'm
he
not
collapses.
feeling inspired.
Well, how about that new guy they got to like head the DNC? I forget his name. He's like if a box of cornflakes could be a person. Like he was so uninspired. Like just I'm like, oh yeah, this is face of I'm ready to fight fascism. This guy, like it's.
No, he makes Tom Perez look like he's a mover and a shaker.
It's so bad. I mean, well, and that's the thing. It's comically, like, it's just a parody of a parody of a parody at this point. Like, I think people are just waking up to, we have a complete corporate capture of our government, which, by the way, can be traced back to Wall Street. I happened to make a movie about that. But yeah, we just have a complete corporate capture of government. You know, this whole idea of like, oh, Trump might be an outsider. No, he's not. He's an insider. He's a total insider. In fact, you want to talk about the way Wall Street works? Look at his whole tariff thing. The whole tariff thing was all about, okay, we're going to shake up the market. We're going to scare a bunch of people. So what few people have some regular stocks, they're going to freak out and they're going to sell that. And then his cronies are going to buy low. Well, he's going to manipulate the market for the next 4 years. That's what this is all about. It's all about just consolidating wealth a little bit more. And that's what they're going to do for the next 4 years. That's what they tried to do the first 4 years, and they did for the most part. Donald Trump realized that with the situation he's in, it made business sense for him to be president. And that's what we're living through. And nobody is putting a check on this because the other Wall Street sponsored team is just a bunch of weaklings that are set up that way on purpose. And then you have the GOP who's, you know, just happy to do this nationalist, Christian, neo-fascist agenda. So that's where we're at. And that's where we've been for the past 40 years. But now it's just coming to a head. Reagan will fuck around. This is find out.
He puts it in hyperdrive, which is what I've always said about Trump. He is absolutely facilitating the revolution. And so that is something that I actually do appreciate because it has to happen. This political, our electoral, all of that facade, that ridiculous nonsense has got to end at some point.
Yeah, but with where we're at now, it's being replaced by something worse. Like when a status quo is clearly broken, yes, it needs to end, but you're not guaranteed that it'll be replaced with something better. I mean, right now,
it's an opportunity for a revolution.
Yeah,
this is where it hits bottom.
Yeah,
I used to have that optimism. I don't anymore because we haven't hit bottom yet.
Nope.
Like I used to say, like, oh, this has got to be, and then it's like, nope, it's not. So, you know, I mean, yeah, to build a new house, you got to like tear one down, but what's going to happen amidst the tearing of it down? I mean, once you have a complete fascist takeover, like you're talking generations before another revolution. Like we will, none of us will be alive for it.
I'd like to live to see a general strike. I'd like to live long enough to see a general strike in this country and see what happens from that.
I would too. I wouldn't wager on it, but I hope I'm wrong.
Well, look, a lot of people are working on different aspects of that right now for, May Day 2028. And the three top unions have it so that their negotiations, all their collective bargaining agreements will be up for renegotiation at the same time. I mean, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. And we have a few years to get enough community, coalition, mutual aid, get stuff set up for people so that people can actually do it.
But it doesn't just happen in a vacuum. Like you have to see how these things lead to this point where it's this complete looting of the treasury, if you will. They're all guilty of it. And you can make the argument that, yes, under Trump, it's worse because he's put it into hyperdrive. But what he's basically done, and this is why so many people have gravitated towards Musk, even though he's terrible. It was like everyone was asleep at the wheel. All of a sudden, Musk starts handing out, little cookies to people, basically exposing how corrupt the government system really is. Now, don't get me wrong. He's pointed out some things recently that it correctly is corrupt in terms of, how government spending has been completely, just government in general has been taken over by corporate special interests. But at the same time, if you're not going to audit the Pentagon, then what the hell is the point? If you are not going to deal with a genocide, then what is the point? You may get a few things here and there, but you're only facilitating the problem even further. It gets to the only question becomes, do we, the people, eventually say, I've had enough? That's what it's about. Because when you look at somebody like Chuck Schumer and everything that the Democratic Party represents, Ken Martin, we tried to get on the podcast. He actually reached out to us. He asked, we had connected on X and, had inquired about whether or not he was going to, come on and talk with us. And we invited him on. And then much like when Congressman Pocan was supposed to come on our podcast, when the head of the Nevada Democratic Party was supposed
that was different. That was Debbie called her because she was mad that I called her mean names.
And you had the eyes, the squiggly eyes. And
she said I was anti-Semitic, and I was.
Dude, if you saw this graphic that Jen created and the leap to anti-Semitism that they took with it, I mean, this was way before October 7th. This was going back like 3.
This was at Nina's. It was at Nina's first run.
Yeah, it's like that's how you get to this point. That's how you get here. You don't get here out of nowhere. You get to a point where people just say, fuck it. I don't care.
Exactly. See, that's where I am. That's where I am. Like I have no more fucks to give. And I do know it's going to get worse, and I'm here for it.
Think about how it's going to be in California if Kamala decides to run for governor. Because
she'll win. Yeah, she'll win. I mean, I get what you're saying. I'm not trying to be like a Debbie Downer about it, but
we used that term already. That's 2 now.
Did I? All right.
Yes.
Well, it's a good one. It's an easy one. I just think I am a general strike or bust guy. Like I think if we don't have a general strike, we're pretty much completely cooked.
No, we need it.
And I mean, getting there would be a massive heavy lift, especially in a place like the United States where people's jobs are tied to their healthcare. So there's that. I think right now, I mean, when people ask me, it's like, well, what should I do right now? Like I say, do you know what's going on in your neighborhood? Do you know who's on your school board? Do you know, where exactly your water is coming from? Do you know, like who's in charge of this municipality? Because we've gotten to this point because people just see what little power they have at every given opportunity. People just, you'll notice in your neighborhood, certain people, they just kind of take what they want. And I don't mean the literal stealing sense. I mean, hey, a bunch of local developers stack the city council. They they pull the mayor by the puppet strings. That's stuff that people could take back. It's not an easy lift, but it's a way easier lift compared to, getting a congressional seat or getting, or getting a general strike happened or whatever. So I think that people really need to just plug in and sort of, metaphorically lock arms. Do you grow food? Do you know somebody who does? You should. Hey, you got some room in your yard? You should raise a couple chickens, get some eggs going. That's going to be how we lay the groundwork for something like a general strike. And, here in my neighborhood, a bunch of people are talking. In one thing we do have in California, especially in Los Angeles, we have very, very extensive mutual aid efforts here. That's one thing I'll definitely say we have that's pretty badass. And people are really not taking it. The cops had to flee a protest not too long ago here in Los Angeles. There was an immigration protest, and the cops literally had to leave. The people were just too loud, and they just had to leave.
I saw the highway get shut down. Is that what you're talking about? I saw a bunch of people shut down the highway.
That happened a couple times, but yeah, there was one time, and it wasn't publicized as much, but you can see the footage online. The cops, the LAPD, literally just had to bounce. Good. And it was awesome. And so stuff like that, I think, is sort of the key to fight back against all of this, because that's how fascism really takes root, with complicity. And in many ways, I mean, we've been under various shades of fascism for a very, very long time, and now we're under a very hostile shade of it. So I think that, people really need to know their neighbors. And a great way to get to know your neighbors, watch a movie together. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but that's a really good community
Do
activity.
you have any movie
Do
suggestions?
you have any movies? I was going to say, do you have a recommendation?
I wanted to bring it back on something light, so I was just like, how can I? And I'm like, you can watch a movie with your neighbors. Seriously though, that is a cool event, and it's not a very long movie either, so you'll have plenty of time to talk about it, have some drinks, have dessert.
It should be like a movie club, like a book club situation.
I am all for it. Yeah, the Left at Wall movie club. So yeah, go for it. Everybody
honestly, I living myself personally living in very red America. We could learn a lot about the way things operate in these types of communities. People here care about each other, and there's a lot of community events and things like that probably take place in places, like in Palm Springs and different parts of San Bernardino and Riverside County that you don't see in LA or Ventura or Orange County. It's just a different world. And I think if we were to do that in the more heavily populated centers, I think that the responses would probably be very positive. I think there's still a lot of people, especially in LA and San Francisco, that are still rocked about what happened to Bernie and how it didn't work out. And you've said, Jen, a lot of people are just like nomads in the desert walking around right now.
So, Ron, my comparison after Bernie was, I used to be a Dead fan. I mean, I guess I still am a Dead fan, but I used to actually go to the shows. And I remember when, at the end of every tour, at the end of the summer, they would always end their tours in Denver, and then fall tour didn't pick up again for like a few months up in San Francisco. And so all of the heads would be like, they would be milling aimlessly around Denver area for like months with like no clue, like nomads in a desert. And this is how I think of that. Like, this is how I think of it. Like, the Bernie people that were in it for Bernie, they just haven't, the ones down here in South Florida that are progressives, they were never progressives. They were always Bernie supporters. And then when he got out of it, it all just fell apart.
Yeah. First of all, you being a deadhead is surprising and then not surprising at all at the same time.
Why?
But,
Why would that be surprising?
I don't know. I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way. I wouldn't have pegged you a deadhead, but now that I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, that doesn't surprise me at all.
I went to Boulder. I went to see you, Boulder.
Did you ever? Okay. All right. Did you ever see them at Red Rocks?
Of course.
Oh, nice.
I've seen them Red Rocks. I've seen a Mile High Stadium. I'm trying to think anywhere else in Colorado, because the last two times it was Mile High.
So I am not a Dead fan. I respect it for what it is, but it's not my cup of tea. But I will say that my first concert as a youth was Traffic. My parents took me to see Traffic.
Nice.
It was pretty cool. And I was 8 years old, and I didn't really understand how anything worked because I was very young. So I saw Traffic, and I just assumed that whenever a rock band played live, their songs were 20 minutes long. Like, it was just not, because I saw Traffic, who like would jam out for like an hour and a half on like a song or whatever. And I just thought that's what happens.
You thought all bands were jam bands.
I thought all bands were jam bands for like a couple years. And then I went to see Elton John. My parents took me to see Elton John.
Not a jam band.
He just played his songs same way as on the radio. And I was like, oh, okay. So not everybody does that. But yeah, for a while, I thought that every band, even if they weren't even if they just had a 2.5 minute song, right, they would jam out for like 8 minutes whenever they played live. I just thought that's what everyone did. I even told my friends that.
Most performers don't alter from their planned set list, and they definitely don't ad lib. Very few people. Especially nowadays, very few people. And the only person I know of that takes, what do you call it? Suggestions, takes requests is Bruce. But now I'm mad at him, so I don't want to be.
Why? What did Bruce do?
Bruce will take requests.
Why are you mad at him? What do you do?
Because he's palling around with Obama and simping for Kamala.
Yeah, I mean,
meh, you don't get to be the hero of the working man and be that guy and then be supporting this nonsense.
I would have a lot more leeway with Bruce. but I would have a lot more leeway with Bruce when it comes to that type of thing if he actually came out for Bernie in 2016, and he had a real opportunity. Stephen Van Zandt came out for Bernie.
Yeah.
It's
I was gonna say I like Little Steven politically. I like Little Steven more
for
than I like
sure.
Bruce. But I mean, in situations like that, like I kind of have a little more grace because it's like he means well. Like he's trying.
I agree that Bruce
Like
does mean well.
I don't
agree.
hate him. I'm not like wishing a pox on him and his family.
no,
I'm
I
just saying
understand that. I'm
it
just like
lost it for me a little.
But you know
yeah,
what? It's
I
kind
guess
of like
I don't know.
I think it's a great way to conclude the conversation because if you think about it, Ron, it's like you're saying, we're staring down the barrel of a gun right now, and we don't know if the chambers are empty or if they're full. And one of the reasons why we don't know that is because when opportunity presents itself to make a stand when you know things are not good, in the case of Bruce, he put his career and his standing within the A-list society as more of an importance than it was to say what he truly felt. If you listen to his work, especially in the 70s and 80s, the Bruce Springsteen of the Born in the USA days would have spoken in favor of Bernie Sanders in probably a very profound way, especially when you listen.
And that was also 40 years ago, and he's been a millionaire for 40 years.
Exactly.
I mean,
So
it's like, what do you expect? Like,
I
I'm not really like defending or not defending the guy. I'm just saying, like, like I don't really,
Well, again,
he
I'm not
means
wishing
well.
bad
He writes
things.
some good songs.
For
That's enough
sure.
for me. I
Yeah,
don't,
no, he's not in the Mel Gibson or Bill Cosby era, like where I can't even stomach it. We're not at that. I mean, I'm not like,
When I think about artists that really annoy me with the way they use their platform, I think more of people like you too. Like someone like Bono,
yeah.
someone like Bono who will like kind of, I mean, his organizations are kind of just shams. They're kind of just tax shelters for him. And then he'll go on like a spiel about how great capitalism is. I think that is infinitely more shady than a guy who does genuinely mean well, a guy who does give back.
Absolutely.
I mean, but I will say this, and I know somebody got really upset because we were talking about music because you're not supposed to have culture.
We're not going to talk about anything but politics.
No, it's if you're not talking about atrocities 24/7, I can't come. But like Robert Smith of The Cure, which The Cure is one of my favorite bands. Robert Smith of The Cure did more for frickin' to rein in Ticketmaster than our government did, than our antitrust legislators did. Robert Smith took them to task. And Robert Smith, by the way, he doesn't try to pretend like he's any, but he's a British socialist, and he freaking took him to task. And if we're talking about Bruce, I was really disappointed with Bruce's response to the whole Ticketmaster thing. He just kind of shrugged. He was just kind of like, I don't know.
Tickets are a fortune.
He shrugged it up, and that was disappointing. Whereas Robert Smith took them to task. He was like, Ticketmaster, this is bullshit. And he blew the whistle on the other artists. He goes, no, we did have a choice. We didn't have to agree to that like market pricing thing. Like, and we didn't, the Cure didn't agree to it. So, but yeah, I mean, dude, I love the boss. I love the music. And I think, he means well. And that matters more to me than like, okay, politically.
It's the thought that counts.
Yeah, he's not a political leader. He's a musician. I mean, if he was running for office, I bet his platform would be really great because I don't think he, I think it's like
he'd be like Obama.
I don't think he would. Because I don't think. I mean, first of all, it's like a ridiculous hypothetical because it would never happen. But like, I don't think he pals around with Obama because he loves how many bombs Obama dropped. I think he pals around with Obama because he didn't want to. He was happy to see Bush out of office. He didn't want to see McCain. And him and Obama are buddies. And they're both rich. So I mean, I don't know. I don't listen to the content. Like I've never listened to the podcast.
We tried to do a podcast together and it didn't work out. So
terrible.
But at the end of the day, he's still the best music performer I've ever seen, I've ever heard. And of course, I'm biased because I'm from one town over from where he's from. So,
the best person politically ever was Frank Zappa.
Sure. But
Zappa was
a different time.
He was
I would say Strummer gets the gold star for me. If I had to pick one.
You're younger though, right? Like it's a little bit older too.
I mean,
I'm talking about. I mean, we're talking
Strummer
about
is not. Yeah, I mean that's like going back to the
how old?
70s
Pure's
too.
from 80s. No.
The Cure is
Yeah.
The Cure started in 76. The Clash
Okay.
started around that time.
Okay.
So yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, that's hard to like give the gold star to one person. I mean,
I do just remember
Zappa was
him.
kind of more out of the box, wasn't he? I mean, he
Oh,
called out the the Tipper Gore stuff.
PMRC.
Zappa, yeah, he was real outspoken about that. Tom Petty was, I agree with that.
Yeah,
Tom Petty was pretty based. Yeah, and then there's people whose music I don't really like, but they have really good politics. Dave Matthews has pretty good politics. I don't get it. I know people love it. All power to them. I don't get the Dave Matthews
he's
fan.
got. I mean, Matthews has a couple of good
It's
songs.
the yuppie. It's the yuppie dead show. It's
Yeah,
a
it
yuppie
really
version of
is.
the dead show.
Very
Yeah.
very upper middle class suburbanite.
It's like it's the Gen X that got invested in tech at the right time. They're the people who like Dave Matthews.
Yeah.
The people who cashed in. But he has
the irony of their fan base and the fact that
oh, and someone gave Roger Waters a shout out. That's another.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
He's good politically.
Yeah, politically it's Roger Waters for sure.
And
No, but
admittedly, I'm not a big Pink Floyd guy. Like, admittedly, that's I'm not a huge Pink Floyd guy.
They're not my favorite choice.
But
if you look at the irony of the audience that Dave Matthews attracts and their most popular song, Ants Marching, if you just know what the meaning of the song is, it's it completely goes over their head what it's about.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think that's just the irony of our society. It's like we envision America as being one way when it's a completely different thing. We want it to be great, but in the sense that we're pretending that it's not bad, that it isn't bad. And America's very bad right now. And we're heading down a very isolationist, dangerous path that I hope somebody eventually blows the whistle on. But unfortunately, it's probably going to take we, the people, just uniting around this class solidarity through labor. And if we do, maybe we'll have a chance. But like you said, you don't want to be a Debbie Downer, so I'll take the liberty of using that term. We've seen a lot to believe that it might not happen. It probably won't. But as long as there's a chance, then I say we fight for it. And we're always happy to have you here, Ron. And obviously your movie is definitely worth seeing. Guys, the link is in the description, so make sure that you check it out. Colin, if you could just pop it up one more time. Left at Wall.
Left at Wall. And by the way, I really love the soundtrack too. So check it out. Shout out to some of the bands who are part of that, the Heavenly States, Fire Tiger. Man, some people are really dropping some truth in the chat. Chumbawamba gets a shout out from Travers. And some DOA. Dude, Dave L with the deep cut Canadian punk with DOA. Yeah, and that guy's done some interesting stuff. I don't know. I actually want to have him on the show, Joe from DOA, but I need to familiarize myself with.
See, your
with the
first
story a
concert was
little bit.
Traffic, and so
Yeah.
right, which is amazing. I've not seen Steve Winwood live, so that's really cool. And then you end up not being into jam bands.
I know, yeah, and I don't like, yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
Travers.
I always, I mean, I like, they might, we don't know, do we? But I like, yeah, I mean, I like a lot of punk rock music, but I like, but I'm all over the place. I mean, I like folk, I like classic rock, I like, I like a lot of different stuff. But yeah, jam bands, I never quite, I don't know, I just got, I would be like,
are you into? I mean, like,
You're
do you
good.
like hallucinogens? I mean, are you a cannabis person? Are you a hallucinogen?
Yeah, I'm a
user?
cannabis person. I like stuff that grows. So
Right,
mushrooms,
yeah.
cannabis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because those are your people. Just so you know, I mean, like, you'd be very welcome amongst the
I
people
think-
at the jam band concerts.
I think everybody's pretty welcome there,
Yeah.
unless you're being an asshole. And
everybody-
I appreciate it. I just, the music just doesn't really do much for me. My wife wanted to go to the Strat that like Vegas thing they did where they were in like ball or whatever. Yeah.
Yes,
She really wanted to go to that. And she goes, "Would you?" And I go, "Is there a different music option?" And she goes, "I knew you'd do this." And I'm like, "Well, I'm sorry. I don't want to sit through a dead show."
Well, I will
But-
tell you, like, but some like the Allman Brothers revival.
I like the Allman Brothers.
Okay,
I like the Allman Brothers. Yeah.
so I'm drawing a blank at his name. The son. Oh my God, I cannot think of his name. But Greg Allman's son, who now does, there's an Allman Brothers revival band, and they tour and they are amazing. And it's what you think, like where they just go off and just, yeah, they're really good. And they do the Allman Brothers proud.
I mean, so I do like prog too. I'm a huge, one of my favorite bands is Jethro Tull, which is so random, but yeah, I'm a
that is
huge
random.
Jethro Tull fan. Love Jethro Tull. I like these days. I like what Martin Parr is doing better than what Annie Anderson's doing. We should just keep talking music until Peter gets really, really uncomfortable and just quits the show out of rage.
He doesn't. Yeah,
he's
it's okay.
I'm not doing this.
No, he's got to go. He's got an event.
People are angry. No, I'm sorry. I'm just.
No,
yeah,
I mean,
sorry.
listen, my musical taste is not that far off. I mean, Springsteen, yes. I do like Pink Floyd a lot. I like a lot of music that makes you think, which is something that we don't see a lot. I thought that U2 was great back in the day, but you know what? Unfortunately, because Bono is such an egomaniac narcissist and he's so politically wrong that it does make it difficult. And sometimes that is the sword, if you will, in many ways.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, yeah. For most musicians, yeah.
But that's also the thing about Springsteen that made him so revolutionary in so many ways in the 70s and especially the 80s when he was the biggest thing going along with Michael Jackson and Prince and Madonna, is that he wasn't as vocal politically, but people knew that he was a Democrat and a working class, supporter. But when he really got political on the Magic Tour regarding Bush in particular, he drew the line. And at that point, there was no going back. And then he became a big Obama advocate, and there really was no going back. So he made a decision. And a lot of people,
I mean, well, and Devils and Dust was a fantastic anti-war record. I mean, and that was calling out Iraq, that was calling out Bush. Yeah, and I applaud him for doing that. I mean, it's like one of those things. Like, I'll give, so here's a better example. Like, I'm a big Smiths fan. Morrissey has been really gross in recent years politically. He has endorsed a far-right nationalist party in England. It is beyond disgusting. He threw Johnny Marr under the bus, and he wasn't honest about the whole thing. And it looks like he's losing money over all of it because he was all about a Smiths reunion, and Johnny Marr said no, because Johnny Marr was like, "Hey, man, after years and years of your condescending comments towards me, go F yourself. I'm not freaking doing it." So for me, it's like Morrissey crossed the line where it's like, dude, you're just a
Can
jerk.
I answer Sable?
Okay.
I have to
you don't.
Sable.
Oh, go ahead.
No, finish.
Well, I was going to say is I'm like, that's the difference between like you don't see Bruce Springsteen doing it. Like there's a big difference between somebody whose heart is in the right place and somebody who's doing what Morrissey's doing, endorsing literal nationalists. You know what I mean?
I get it. I agree.
I was just going to answer Sable. Sable, no, not Cher's son. That's Elijah Blue. It is the Allman. It's Allman Betts Family Revival, and it's Devin Allman, and it's Greg Allman's son. And then he is in a band with Dwayne Betts, who's Dickie Betts from the Allman Brothers' son. So it's two of the sons from the Allman Brothers. And it's actually really good. Like if you ever get a chance, it's not a regular occurrence, but when they do that tour, it's really good.
Yeah, Almost Famous. Great movie. Great message too. Guys, please make sure that you
definitely see the movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Go see Left at Wall. I know you got to get out of here, Peter, but yeah, thanks everybody for having me. Thank you for having me on. And yeah, Left at Wall is available on Apple TV, Amazon, YouTube Movies. You can, right after the show's over, go watch Left at Wall. You can do it right now. And yeah, you can go to my website if you're not sure how to get it, but Left at Wall is out now. Type in Left at Wall on your smart TV. It'll come up. And I hope you love the movie. I'm really excited for you to see it.
Thank you so much, Ron.
Appreciate you, brother.
Peace, y'all. Thanks for having me.
Talk to you. One of our favorites, and always welcome here. What
else you got for us today? Or do you want to go do some super chats?
Missing the forest through the trees. Yeah, Peter. I don't know. Sometimes I do. I have my moments.
He has his moments.
Bernie only has balls when he's in the minority and can't affect any real change. Listen, that's going to be our last. That's our last. Yeah, that's our last story for the evening. We'll get to that in a minute. Is Schumer talking about stopping genocide? Of course not.
He's talking about stopping Trump.
I mean, talk about a guy who just looks like an old man. Not yeah, we're tough. We're going to do shit. That's something that somebody like Sean O'Brien would do. Chuck Schumer, he looks like he's going to keel over, and he's going to drag Maxine Waters down with him while he's doing it.
Oh, God. I'm telling you, that Congress, it's like we're running a hospice.
Not only that, but it's so definitive how much worse it is on the Democratic side than the Republican side.
Oh, for sure. Because the Democrats do not pass batons.
No, not at all. The Republicans go into the private sector. They want to make money. Willie, thank you as always. Not even Britain's worst prime minister, Karen Thatcher, dared to Americanize the action. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, though, her party, the Tories, have been cutting it left and right for as long as they possibly can, because she was aware of USA's nightmare. And it's still a nightmare today. That actually hasn't changed. Chip, thank you again. If there's a general strike, it will be because of channels like these. We thank you very much. We are a small but mighty channel. We got up to almost 100 live viewers this evening, which is great. We think Ron definitely had something to do with that. Fuzzy, thank you as always. We just saw how much the Democratic Party hates unions during the railroad strike. Yes. And this is the thing. Well, it's bad here. It's bad. No, it's bad, period. It's what levels of bad do you want? So when people talk about, well, Biden was actually good with the NLRB. Yes, he was, but at what cost? He became the first president in more than a generation to break a strike. Unheard of for a Democrat.
My understanding, I cannot remember the person's name, that's the only decent appointment that Trump has made.
Yeah.
Was labor.
We'll see what happens with that. But what we are learning is that this is an oligarchy bordering on fascism, because the merger of the corporate state is real. Elon Musk has infinitely more power than anyone at that level should have. But of course, it's probably always been this way. Elon's just very public about it. Dave L., thank you so much for the $5. Shout out to Joe Keithley from DOA. Great musician, great politician.
I don't know enough about that genre. Like, I remember the people that I knew that were into Cure were all like the punk new wave kids. And that sort of I was a deadhead.
Yeah, a little too new wave for my liking, is Patrick Bateman.
I mean, yeah.
Bob Fuzzy, and again, thank you so much for the $5. Bob Dylan, Masters of War is the best protest song ever. I say Born in the USA, but that's
God, no.
Actually, I would say the best anti-war song is probably still Senator's Son. Is that the name of the song?
You're talking about Creedence?
Creedence Clearwater.
ECR, Fogerty.
Yeah,
Fortunate Son. It's Fortunate Son. It's ECR.
Yeah, that's probably the best anti-war.
Also a really good jam band.
Yes,
just saying.
But Born in the USA is a great anti-war song. And if you haven't heard Bruce's acoustic version of Born in the USA, that really hits home. So back in the USA. Travers is, I can't decide who's the biggest ball breaker in our chat, but Travers is probably.
Well, all my UK people, we could potentially meet up in person at some point. You never know. I'm coming to the UK.
So when we talk about the fact that Bernie has let us down in more ways than one of the ways he's really let us down is the fact that he is just going to play party politics. I've been very adamant. Go read the lyrics. Which song?
Born in the USA.
Oh, well,
probably what he's talking about.
I think that the way they talk about veterans,
because he can't be talking about Fortunate Son, because I've read those lyrics. They're pretty clear.
And this is why a lot of people don't like Bruce, because especially now. The funny thing is that if you go back and you listen to the Born in the USA tour, he actually did have vocal teaching with Patty at that time. He actually did have a decent voice, but he never.
It was better. And as somebody who has seen him live and actually saw him live at the Born in the USA tour, did you see him live for the Born in the USA tour, Peter?
I'm not as old as you, Jen.
Exactly. So given that you were like a year old during the Born in the USA tour, and I remember the Born in the USA tour, Bruce actually sounds very good live. And not everybody does. This whole new generation are all these studio people that only sound great in the studio. The people that I can attest that, yes, Steve Perry really did sound that good live. That good without anything. He really did sound that good live. I saw all the good bands live.
Today, I voted to reject RFK Jr.'s nomination to HHS. I cannot in good conscience support someone who denies and will dilute our public health protections, show distrust in science, and oversee massive cuts to healthcare programs for vulnerable Americans. Is that really what his job is, Bernie? Or do you just not have it in you to stand up to the Democratic Party establishment who was up RFK's ass for many years, but now they're not, because he decided that he wasn't going to play ball? I do think there are things that he said that I don't agree with, but he is absolutely right about the poisoning of our food. And
so if you could be right about one thing and wrong about 10 things, like I get what Bernie's saying, but I don't think that's what Bernie's problem is.
I agree. I don't
in line with the party, and I think he's pissed off like they all are. They're all fucking ass hurt because he turned on the party because they suck.
And yet at the same time, Fuzzy with the other $5. Thank you, my friend. Masters of War lyrics makes everything else look like Little League. Okay. Listen, who do you think inspired Bruce? He's said it time and again that Bob Dylan is his guy. That's who he got his chops from. He owes it to Bob that he was able to write music the way that he did. And so, yeah, and punk music's good. Listen, there's a lot of great music out there. It's Bob freaking Dylan. I agree. But there is.
Are you talking about Dweezil or Moon? I'm not sure. Right on.
Jen, I don't have a lot of time.
This kid in missing persons. I don't remember who that was. Was it Moon? Anyway, go on. Sorry.
So we always herald More Perfect Union for the work that they do. And they did cover this. And while they're not going to come out and endorse RFK, what they're covering is what RFK is working towards, which is why I believe you would agree with me, Jen, that given the options that are out there right now, you take what you can get.
In the US, ingredients of questionable safety end up in our food supply constantly, thanks to a legal loophole. Just look at what happened in 2022.
I started having extreme stomach and gastro pain and went to the hospital. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I had elevated liver levels.
I spent 26 hours in the ER, ended up getting an MRCP, which is like a special MRI scan. I had jaundice of the skin. They freaking took my gallbladder out.
In June of 2022, many connected the dots of their mysterious illnesses through a Reddit post made by user Han2466 titled Extreme Stomach Pain Sickness from Lentil and Leek Crumbles. These crumbles that resulted in numerous emergency room visits were a product of Daily Harvest, a popular meal delivery service. A single listed ingredient was pinpointed as the cause of this mass poisoning, an ingredient the FDA would later deem an unapproved food additive. And how this ingredient wound up in Daily Harvest's recipe will infuriate you.
The system is rigged towards ignorance.
I'm not eating haggis.
Why do people want you to eat haggis?
Travers wants me to eat haggis when I'm in Scotland. I'm not eating haggis. I don't eat meat.
When you can imagine the type of ingredients that they put in food and people wonder why people get sick. I'm grateful that I was cognizant enough to give up soda when I was a teenager. Like I just knew. But I will tell you, there's a lot of food that I've given up over the years that really changed. And look, we're all created differently. You know, I don't agree with you, Jen. You said before that we're all the same. No, we're not all the same.
What do you mean we're not all this? What do you, I mean, yes, everybody has different sensitivities to things. When did I say we're all the same and we all have the same health care?
Well, if you don't want to use the word race, that's fine. But we are different cultures. We are.
Okay. There are things that are cultural. It's not race. There's no black race of genetic hereditary shit. There's maybe Nigerian or maybe
but what I'm saying is that bodies respond differently to different things. So, for example, some people may respond well to red meat. I will tell you that when I gave up red meat, my sleeping habits improved dramatically. Like, dramatically. Like, that's real. And soda, forget it. Look at the experimentation. The fact that people still drink soda is incredible. The fact that people still smoke cigarettes is incredible. But it is free will. And if you want to, poison your body, that's your decision. People have a right to do that. People can drink themselves stuff if they want to. But I think we have a right to know if this stuff is healthy or not. And remember, one of the biggest crises that we have in our culture today is being told that something's healthy when it clearly isn't. That's a big problem.
Well, basically, they're talking about a loophole. And I don't know how long this clip is, but
this is probably going on for a long time.
In June, Daily Harvest issued a recall of its lentil and leek crumbles. And by July, the company was able to single out an ingredient called Terra flour. Terra flour comes from the seeds of the Terra plant. We use other parts of the Terra plant without such dramatic results, but for whatever reason, processing flour from the seeds is an express ticket to the emergency room. Terra flour made it into the Daily Harvest recipe because it was labeled by the industry as generally recognized as safe, or GRAS.
In 1958, Congress passed this law called the Food Additives Amendment, and it basically broke up ingredients into two categories.
The first category is food additives. Think artificial flavors that the FDA has to explicitly approve. The second is this generally recognized as safe, or GRAS category.
The idea was to allow ingredients that were already in the food supply to remain in the food supply, salt, pepper, things like that, and not have to have companies prove their safety.
When companies found that that was too burdensome, they noticed that in the statute there was an exemption if a chemical was considered generally recognized as safe. And they decided, really starting in the 1990s, that they could make those decisions without ever telling FDA.
When a company wants to add some new GRAS ingredient to their product, whether that be Terra flour or something made in the lab, the FDA allows companies to determine independently if it's safe. That's it. The FDA requires companies to provide tangible data to prove these ingredients are safe.
There has to be something published. However, publication, companies can put it on their website and count that as publication. The scientists who are critical of the process, they don't get asked to be serving on expert panels because the system is biased to give the company the answers it wants.
And therein lies the rub. And we don't even need to see any more of the clip.
No, actually, well, then we don't have to see it. But what I found to be the most interesting was what they explained at the end was this loophole where the companies, these companies that are using these GRAS products, they can actually optionally choose to appeal to the FDA. But they don't have to appeal to the FDA. So if they do choose to appeal to the FDA to get approval and the FDA says no, they can actually just say, you know what, let's just pretend we didn't even ask for it, and they could put the shit on the market anyway. That was like, okay. So in other words, what is the point?
And
why have an FDA?
But therein lies the rub of the flaw of capitalism, which is, as I've often said, if capitalism is not balanced with socialism, you're fucked. Because in this case, the only thing that matters is the bottom line. It doesn't matter if the product is healthy or not. It matters, can they sell it? And if they can sell it, they'll lie. They'll just say, yeah, it's okay.
Right. But just the fact that you have a rule that says you have to get approval from the FDA unless you don't want to, and then you don't have to.
So then why would you ever do it? Why would you ever put yourself... For anybody who's ever seen one of the great movies of the 1990s, it is perhaps Harrison Ford's best movie, which is The Fugitive. If you watch the penultimate scene when he walks in on Dr. Nichols giving his speech at the Chicago Hilton, he's talking about a drug that went through trials and was proven to be poisonous. And yet the FDA approved it anyway. And he is giving this speech and saying, with no side effects whatsoever. This is back in the early 90s. So if you can just grease the wheels, why would you not? If no one's going to say, like you said, well, we would like you to make sure that the product is safe, but if it isn't, but that's okay.
It's so weird, but it's like literally that's a thing. Like, so the companies get to choose whether or not to get FDA approval. And then if they do and they don't get the approval, they could just pretend that they didn't seek to get it. Like, that's crazy.
And then there's no liability. They can do whatever they want. So what if they prove that this causes cancer, causes hair loss, causes blood thinning, whatever it may be? But there's no legal recourse. What are you going to do? This is the whole thing about being knowledgeable about what you put in your body. The only thing that I know for certain, and the only thing that I could give my medical expertise on, much as to the chagrin of people who have their opinions about RFK, that RFK actually does have medical know-how, whether you like it or not. Here's one piece of medical advice I can give you. If you are reading the label of a food package that you want to know whether it's actually acceptable for you to eat or not, if it is over 5, at most 6 ingredients, don't eat it.
That's easy to say, but a lot of people don't have options, and that's a big part.
That is, well, that's why Bernie, this is one thing that Bernie did say very effectively in 2015 and 2016, and that is, it is very expensive to be poor because you have to make sacrifices that you don't really want to make. Think about
and yet he just voted against RFK after looking like a fucking idiot about, do you denounce these onesies? Do you denounce these onesies?
Of all the things that he's going to go after him on?
Well, that, and then now he's going to, like, you know what? Because I truly believe that if it was Kamala, they would be appointing a member of the Sackler family. That's who they'd have running it. So, you know, I'm not an RFK fan by any stretch, but Bernie is looking really shitty to me.
The truth of the matter is, big dumb animal, is that if Breyer's ice cream only has a few ingredients, yes, sugar is bad for you in large consumptions, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that are overweight or even fat, and they live very long, relatively healthy lives. Why? Because they don't put the type. You are so much better off putting natural sugar cane in your body than you ever would be putting in Splenda, aspartame, the chemicals. You're better off drinking, listen, soda's poison, but you're better off drinking Coca-Cola than Diet Coke. That's a fact. So
6 of one, half a dozen the other.
The other, I agree. But
they both will clean rust.
Isn't that amazing? Look at what this does. How about if it gets shit off the driveway? It can rip through tar.
I quit soda like 10 plus years ago. Like, I haven't had anything but water in like 10 years at least.
The truth is, if it's a natural product, not regular beef, lean cut beef, bacon and eggs. Yeah, it's fatty. You're eating an animal, but it's much safer for you than eating a bunch of stuff. Listen.
And something in a package. You're better off eating something that comes from the earth than in a package. It's just that simple.
David, the fact of the matter is, you go anywhere else, go to Europe. I guarantee you that soda in those countries is probably exceptionally healthier. And well, not healthy, but not.
They don't have a lot of the bad stuff. Like, their cereal, their General Mills cereals are different than our General Mills cereals. They're not allowed to have stuff in their cereals that we allow in ours. And the same companies actually create the same product, but with the good ingredients and with the not good ingredients. So they're capable of doing it, mind you.
Well, the reason why you want to, TM, great to see you. It's been too long. No, it's the food pyramid is incorrect. It's almost like it has to be upside down. The food pyramid that you guys actually want to follow is the food pyramid of the countries that have the longest and healthiest life expectancies, led by Japan. And what is it that they incorporate in their diet that we don't? Lots of grains, lots of vegetables, lots of fish. That's their diet. Our diet sucks.
Yeah, our diet does suck.
Really, really bad.
Do you have another story for us? I see you have Ilhan there, but
we could touch on Ilhan and
we could do it on Monday.
And Needle Dick Kushner on Monday.
Ugh, fuck him. I cannot stand. You know who he reminds me of? You know who he reminds me of locally? Douchebag.
Oh yeah. Well, they're all cut. They're all. Listen, you can say, I'm not going to get into it, but you've commented about certain types of Jewish men, and it's true.
He just reminds me of our local cuck.
Yeah, that they, that they have very Hey, look at TM. How about that? So there you go. That's
Good.
probably the safest things that you can do. And the truth is, if you do get stricken with a serious disease, Mediterranean diet is absolutely good. Absolutely. They say that one of the first things that you should do if you are stricken with cancer is to immediately go to a vegan diet. That's one of the first recommendations.
Well, the healthiest looking, I saw this one thing once where they did a study of like how well people age based on different diets. And hands down, the people that looked the best later in life, had the healthiest, best life, were not just the vegans, but the raw vegans, because they did it at each level. So you had the raw vegans, and you had the vegans, and you had the vegetarians. Like they did all this stuff. And it is no joke. The raw vegans looked fabulous. They look 10 years younger than like they did, but I'm just not willing to eat that way. I'm not giving up like pizza. I'm not giving up French fries. I'm not giving up chocolate. That's not happening.
No, I mean, listen, I think everything in moderation, but that's also one of the luxury. Big dumb animal, I don't know yet. I'll let you know. If it's going to happen, it would be after the Super Bowl anyway.
I agree with Chip on this one.
Kushner looks like the character from the. Yeah, he does have.
I've never seen the movie, but I know what you're talking about.
He's definitely got a Damien Thorne thing going on. I agree. No, Travers, with your ball busting. That's not correct. But what I will tell you is that intermittent fasting does work. So 16 hours off and 8 hours on.
You know how you said we're all different? Different things work for different people.
That's true. Oh, there you go. That's definitely something you would like, Jen.
I do like steak fries. I like Red Robin.
I know. If I'm eating French fries, first I like sweet potato fries, but if I'm eating French fries, it's got to be
Again, he ruins anything fun and makes it the least fun possible. It's true.
No, it's not.
Steak fries are friggin' awesome because they're more potato-y.
I like no, I'm Julianne.
Chunky potato.
I'm Julianne all the way.
Ugh.
No way. Steak, not a chance. Two potatoes.
And Red Robin also has really good milkshakes.
Don't take a dietary advice from Jen Perelman.
No, I never said I would never claim to give dietary advice other than not eating processed food. But like, nobody should eat like me. I don't eat like a normal person anymore.
Denise, I think that having fun food every once in a while is a good thing.
He just doesn't like that stuff. That's the truth. He doesn't deprive himself. He doesn't have a sweet tooth. He doesn't like that stuff, which is so crazy to me.
Yeah. Like the first thing that I can reject if it's put in front of me at a dinner table is dessert. Like it's the first thing.
Oh my God. And I would start with dessert. In fact, my dad once told me that you should start with dessert because what if you die and you don't make it to dessert?
But one thing I'm confident in saying is that when you die, your last meal will be something very sweet.
Yeah, I could easily live on like cold pizza, cold French fries, ice cream, and chocolate almonds and be very happy.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's definitely Jen's weak spot for sure.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you all being here. We had a pretty solid crowd show up tonight, which is great without any additional promotion. Things are going well. Make sure that you smash that like button. Make sure that you share. Make sure that you are subscribed. If you are so inclined, make sure that you also go over to patreon.com for as little as $5 a month. You can become a supporter of our small but mighty channel. And any amount really does help. And we have scrolled already tonight, so don't think I...
Oh, you did? I don't remember. Okay.
Listen, I made sure to keep this show as tight as possible, but then you and Ron decided to go off into this music conversation for like 30 minutes. It was like, all right, this is running a little long.
Just because you don't really know that much about music.
I do know, but we could...
You know about Springsteen and maybe like one or two other people.
We could talk about the impact of music on politics, impact on music as well as movies. You know, to me, that's something that we can talk about. We could talk about that impact, which I think is very real. There are political movies. Teresa, mwah.
Thank you, Teresa.
You know, when we think about the impact of Wag the Dog, just that one movie alone.
Most people have never seen it.
But we could do commentary on that movie. But there's lots of other politically inclined movies that we could do commentary.
I don't know about that. I don't know how much fun people want to. I don't know if people want to.
Guys, let us know if you want us to talk about it.
He wants us to sit around and do like talking, like sort of political movie reviews. I just don't want to sit through a whole movie.
No,
especially if it's one I've already seen. But that's the problem. Like to do a review, you really got to film the whole thing and then edit the clips. Like you edit the best parts. I know because I watch people do reactions.
Well, the way I see it is we could talk about a movie that people may be familiar with, like No Way Out with Kevin Costner and Gene Hackman. Like that's a great movie. And if you
It is a
haven't
good movie, but I mean, I don't know that we want to have like a
well, the
like
way
a
that I would do
focus
it here
group
on the
about
channel, no, well, here's what I would recommend. Like if we said today that on Monday, for example, we're going to talk about No Way Out with Kevin Costner and Gene Hackman. If you haven't seen it, here's your opportunity over the weekend to see the movie, and then we're going to talk about it for like 30
Oh,
minutes.
so you're starting a movie club with that's your pick? Are we going to do like movie club picks?
Why not? I
But
think
it has to be a political movie?
well, because it's a generational change, political discussion. There's a lot of great political movies out there. Listen, I think Taxi Driver is one of the greatest political movies ever made. And most people don't associate it being a political movie, but it really is. So that's just another example of one of the all-time great movies that's extremely political.
I mean, I can see where if you wanted to like discuss it for a portion of our show, like a segment,
Yes.
like I'm
Yes,
not,
a
okay,
segment,
I
not
just
a-
wanted to do like a whole movie review.
No, like 30 minutes. Like we would do.
District 9 was really good. And
I
I don't
haven't-
usually like that kind of movie, and I really liked it. It was very cool the
I
way they
haven't
did
seen
it.
it, but I would.
You know what it's about?
No.
They did it like it's done like it's a documentary, which makes it all the more scary and freaky because they do it like it's real, like an alien invasion, but not stupid like Independence Day, like much more realistic. Like it was very cool. I thought District 9 was cool.
Planet of the Apes is one of the great cult movies ever made, and it came out in the late 60s, and it's one of the best uses of, if you really want to know what systemic racism looks like in a film where it wasn't definitive, but if you were paying attention, you understood what it meant, then you watch that movie, and that is definitely worth discussing.
All right, people are throwing in very interesting recommendations. Like, to me, I think, like okay, American President is a great movie.
The American President is a great movie, but it's not. But it's the problem with the American President. It's that it's an extremely. It's a movie version of The West Wing. It's a very fictionalized version of the reality of what it's all about.
That is true.
You're going to talk about a political movie.
You want reality? We could do a House of Cards review.
House of Cards is definitely worth talking about because it's based on the Clintons, which it is. They admitted that it was.
Yeah.
And I said very clearly that that's the closest thing to the reality of politics in D.C.
It really, I mean, there was some freaky ass shit that happened in that I know is based on real shit.
Jen, do you want to take the audience home because I really got to go.
All right. No, it's all good. So guys, thank you so much for coming tonight. What do we have coming up though? Well, I don't know what we have coming up on Monday. Let me look. I'm going to look on the handy dandy calendar.
Savvy Sabs is our guest on Monday evening. We will then have Ken McCarthy talking about JFK and RFK versus Zionist extremism. The following Monday, not this one, but the following Monday, John Kiriakou and his crew will be coming on our podcast. So that'll be a fun conversation. Ben Cohen from Ben and Jerry's. Thank you again, Chip. Man, we've been
sent us a message that email that YouTube won't allow. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chip, very much. So yeah, got a lot of great guests.
We have a lot of stuff. I'm very excited to meet Ben Cohen. Like I'm definitely going to have to talk to him about my Cherry Garcia ice cream cake.
Half baked. If you're going to do it.
That's a new flavor. That's like new money versus old money situation. That's how I feel. Like you're not wrong. It's a great flavor. You're not wrong.
Yeah, you're Gen X, I'm millennial, and I will take my millennial ice cream and be happy. At least I'm eating that. Listen, like I said, if I'm going to have ice cream.
I've never seen you eat it. I'd have to actually see you eat it, and I'd have to see you eat a piece, like a chunky brownie piece. You couldn't just have a little, like a Obama sip, okay? Like you couldn't just do it like he was doing, right, the water. No, I would need to see a chunk.
We love you. We appreciate you. I got to go.